fast. Glad you are with us. Worldview Financial Report today is July. What's the date today? July 12th, 2024. July 12th, 2024. Joining me now is Michael. No, not Michael. Wes. Wes was off yesterday for a doctor's appointment. Michael's off today for a doctor's appointment. You know, guys, I can solve this. Don't go to the doctor. I haven't been to a doctor probably in 15 years, and look how healthy I am. About that time I fall over with a heart attack. But anyway, is everything okay, or everything where it's supposed to be after you went to the doctor?
Everything's great.
Yeah.
Everything's great.
Yeah.
I can't report on Michael. We sent him off today to get his bi-weekly shock treatment. Company, got to keep him in line. So,
wow, ouch! He didn't say anything.
Monday,
he said nothing nasty about you when you were gone.
That's not nasty. You know, hey, we want him fresh on Monday.
Shock treatment. Poor Michael. All right.
You got to keep him in line.
What goes around comes around. That's all I can say. All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what, is everything okay? I mean, is there anything you want to tell us about?
No, everything's good.
You don't want to divulge your medical history and everything here?
Good as new.
What?
I'll send you a link to my medical file you can post on the show on Monday. How about that?
How's the cholesterol level and heart rate and all that?
Great.
Good?
Cholesterol's great. Blood pressure's great. All that stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
PSA level good. PSA good.
Ready for the second half. Ready for the second half of the year. So.
Only thing I go for is a blood test every now and then just to check my PSA level.
Yeah. There you go. That's good.
And that's been, I haven't done that probably in 5+ years.
Yeah. You're due.
I'm what?
You're due. You should get in there.
Yeah, I am due. Yeah. Yep.
I'll tell Melissa to make sure that happens.
Oh yeah, because she's about as anti-doctor as I am. So good luck with that. That woman probably hasn't been to a doctor in 20 years. All right, here we go. Here we're going to talk about today, not our medical history, as fascinating as that might be. We're going to talk about. Here is the inflation breakdown for June 2024 in one chart. We'll talk about that. Inflation falls 0.1% in June. Yeah, liar, pants on fire. U.S. economy is slowing down, showing signs of a possible decay, you think? Let's see. BRICS currency. Will it be worth more than the U.S. dollar or gold? And then central banks ditching U.S. dollar, buying more gold. And then over 100,000 Americans have lost their homes this year. Good grief. Citi sees record central bank demand, pushing gold prices to $2,600 this year, $3,000 in 2025. Colorado governor declares disaster emergency over bird flu. Yeah, let me go look up Governor Jared Polis, debased, darkened-hearted, Romans 1 fool. Read Romans 1, and I think you got Governor Jared Polis right there. He reported a possible H5N1 outbreak in the dairy cows. It took officials weeks to respond. Yeah, because it's not about that, folks. It's about control, scaring everybody and control. But let's start out with the first one. Here's the inflation breakdown for June 2024 in one chart. All right, I'm assuming this is the chart right here, right? Tell me about it.
Correct. Yeah, this is just the consumer price index. Obviously shows how fast prices are changing in the U.S. economy. And the consumer price index rose to 3% in June of 2024, which is a decline from 3.3. So, they're trying to say, Brannon, that since the pandemic, that there's been a decline of 9.1% in the CPI. The peak was in 2022, was at the highest. Talks about average price of gas fell from $3.52 a gallon down to $3.48 per gallon. Gasoline prices are down 2.5% since June of 2023. But you look at some of the items on this chart, juices and drinks, it's still at 20.2%, eggs 10.2%, uncooked beef 10%, bacon. So everything is still, more expensive today than it was, prior to the pandemic. And I think in inflation, they're having a battle trying to. It is coming down some, no doubt, but still, people, the average middle class family is still feeling the cost of these prices.
Yeah, well, in fact, with that being said, I'm going to jump a couple articles ahead because I think it fits. Here it is. Over 100,000 Americans have lost their homes this year. So what that tells me is, as Michael Weiner's been saying, the people that were living paycheck to paycheck are no longer living paycheck to paycheck, and many of them now are losing their homes.
Correct. Absolutely. Just with the cost of living. Let's see. So between January and June, 177,431 foreclosure filings, including default notices, scheduled auctions, bank repossessions. So again, just another sign that people are struggling financially just to make ends meet, to keep a roof over their head and food on the table.
Yep, absolutely. So let's go to the next one. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's go on this one. Inflation falls 0.1% in June for prior month, helping case for lower rates. Now, I don't believe it. I think that's a complete lie. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. They cook the books. I mean, every government agency, when they report their numbers, we know they're cooking the books. And there's been occasions where, I remember President Biden was giving a State of the Union address. And just prior to the State of the Union, they come out with, I think it was the CPI or the jobs numbers, and propped him up, made him look good so he could go out in front of the American people and portray that things are getting better. And then no sooner is the State of the Union over, and then they have to have a correction of those numbers. And of course, it's not front page news. They announce it on a Friday at 4:00 that, we fudged the numbers. Here are the real numbers. So I don't believe any of these government agency numbers for a moment.
No, I don't believe them for a moment either. So let's go back to this little video. Let's see what this video has to say. Here we go.
51. It's been holding above 460.
Let me back it up. I don't know why this video skips like that. Let me start from the beginning. Here we go.
Standing by at the CME in Chicago. Can't believe it, Rick. Illinois is not the best state for business?
Shocking, isn't it? So shocking. Well, maybe next year, right? All right, we are now looking at the wires. Hot numbers coming out. June CPI down 0.1% on headline, down 0.1%. That would equal where we were on May of 2020. To find a lower number, you have to go to April of 2020 when it was at its extreme of -0.8. So that is the first time we've had a minus sign there. That's actually deflation, not necessarily disinflation. Now, if you strip out the all-important food and energy, it's up 0.1%. That's a little cooler than we were expecting. Up 0.1 would be the lightest going back to January of 21. In August of 21, you would have equaled up 0.1. Now, let's look at year over year. Year over year has been a bit lower in the past, and now it equals that level. 3%. 3% equals that low I was referencing before I saw the data, which was June of 2023. To find a smaller number, you're going to March of 21 when it was 2.6. If you look at year over year core, 3.3%. Our last look was 3 years, more than 3 years at the lowest level of 3.4. So 3.3 will hold that moniker. It is also the lightest level going back to April of 21. Now let's look at claims, shall we? Initial claims, 222,000. That's minus 17,000 from the revised 239,000. 222,000 is the smallest initial claims since the third week in May. And finally, on continuing claims, it is now up for above 1.8 million for the fifth consecutive week, 1,852,000. And that, of course, comps to last week when it was 1,856,000. And that would have comped back all the way to, you're going back to November of 21.
So let me stop right there. What's he talking about there? Unemployment? What is he talking about?
Yeah, employment, correct. Absolutely. And the whole point of raising interest rates, Brannon, is at the end of the day to put people out of work. Putting people out of work to slow the economy so people have to tighten the belt and they're not spending. And so their plan is working. It's just, again, like I've said before, what they're doing today, we don't see the results of for months down the road. And them threading that needle of having a soft landing is going to be very difficult for them to do. And they're still not against even raising rates more. Powell just spoke this week, and many people are baking into the cake the fact that the Fed will start lowering rates in September. And for political reasons, which we talked about, I believe that is definitely a possibility to have at least one rate cut between now and the end of the year. But if I were a gambling man, I wouldn't bet on it. And if I were to bet on it, the only reason would be due for political reasons. So again, what they've done in raising rates, the cause and effect, it puts people out of work. It gets people to tighten their spending. And here we are.
Well, one of the guys that warned about this was none other than Andrew Jackson from our state of Tennessee. He did away with a central bank and he got censured for it. But when he gave his farewell address in 1837, he said, don't ever get a central bank again, folks. That if you do, it will have a massively ruinous effect on the nation. And he said it would ruin the nation, absolutely ruin the nation. And that what these guys would do is they would expand the money supply. I'm going to see if I could find a quote from it. Expand the money supply when it benefited them, and then they would contract the money supply when it benefited them, and they would have a ruinous effect on people in America. And that, we'll have people waking up in a country founded by their forefathers homeless. That's exactly what's happening.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They've done a number of things throughout history to really to mess this whole thing up. I mean, number one, Nixon taking us off the gold standard, that opened the floodgates to create and print money. And here we are with, almost $35 trillion of debt. And as you and I know, with all the liabilities, it's much more than that. But, you can't spend more money than you bring in every year and expect things are going to be great. That's not the case. And that's one of the reasons why there's all this dumping of the dollar as well. These other countries, they're tired of the US dollar putting sanctions on them, freezing their assets, tariffs, all of that. And this whole de-dollarization and all this talk about BRICS, this isn't something that's going to happen. This is something that's been happening and is going to continue to happen. And more alliances are forming between all of these different countries, not only the BRICS nations, but also, Southeast Asia countries. They're all have worked out and are working out arrangements to no longer use the US dollar. And that's a big problem. And people should be very concerned. And again, that's taking place right now, Brannon.
Yeah. Well, look at what Andrew Jackson said in the second to last paragraph of his farewell address. You have no longer any cause to fear danger from abroad. Your strength and power are well known throughout the civilized world, as well as the high and gallant bearing of your sons. It is from within, among yourselves, from cupidity, from corruption, from disappointed ambition, and inordinate thirst for power, the factions will be formed and liberty endangered. It is against such designs, whatever disguise the actors may assume, you have especially to guard yourselves. You have the highest of human trust committed to your care. Providence has showered on this favored land blessings without number and has chosen you as the guardians of freedom to preserve it for the benefit of the human race. May he who holds in his hands the destinies of nations make you worthy of the favors he has bestowed and enable you with pure hearts and pure hands and sleepless vigilance to guard and defend to the end of time the great charge he has committed to your keeping. I mean, again, people ought to go read the farewell address of Andrew Jackson. And it's just stunning. It's just stunning what he says and how it has come to pass.
Here we are.
And here we are. I was trying to see if I could find anything more about extending credit. He goes into detail about how when it fits the bank, they will, push out more credit and then they'll pull it back when they have time. I've read this speech many times on air, but we'll do it again another day. But it's an amazing speech. Everybody should go read it. And everybody should visit Andrew Jackson's home if you have a chance right outside of Nashville. It's beautiful.
Well, going back to the Great Depression, 1929, the stock market crash, Brannon, that's when borrowing money became very popular and the banks were pushing it. And the big problem with that crash is those investors were, they felt the losses of the stock market crash, but many of those folks had borrowed money to invest in the stock market. So not only did they lose that money, but they still owed it to the banks. And, it's just continued over the years and generations. Obviously, we're in a buy now and pay later society, and credit is so easy to get for most people, and people live beyond their means, and that's why they cannot save for retirement and other things. And so that's where we are today. We're in a buy now, pay later society. And when you have a period of time where interest rates jump so high like they have over the last couple of years, that again puts a financial struggle. People are paying more money simply to service their debt.
All right, let's go to the next one. U.S. economy is slowing down, showing signs of a possible decay. The U.S. economy is heading towards its own death spiral as new metrics indicate slow progress on the vertical, with the budding BRICS and what I guess is a seen alliance spearheading the multipolar currency agenda. The U.S. dollar continues to invite new foes. At the same time, the U.S. economy's debt metrics are also levying heavy pressure on the vertical, adding more fuel to the fire. So we're going down at a time when more countries are trying to decide whether they want to hold the dollar and join BRICS or not. And this is the timing is very bad. You know, I'm hearing reports that the CIA and some of these groups, that some of these wars that we're fighting are trying to destroy the BRICS, trying to destroy that BRICS coalition, that maybe some of these wars that are all being ginned up is for the purpose of trying to take down some of these, Saddam Hussein, I think, got taken down because he wanted to go toward a gold trading, dump the dollar. Yasser Arafat, Gaddafi, he went down. I think he was going to try to convince some of those nations to go toward gold away from the dollar. Interesting how those two guys met their demise. I don't think the public's been informed as to why they really met their demise. I think it has to do with dumping the petrodollar, going to gold. And now I'm reading more that some of these wars that we seem to be forcing onto nations is, again, because they're trying to disrupt the BRICS coalition. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe you're exactly right. I mean, behind the scenes, I think our government's going to do everything they can behind the scenes to try and prevent this BRICS alliance. But that's going to be a tough road to hoe. I mean, they're well into dethroning the U.S. dollar, and I think it's going to be very difficult for them to do without some major conflict. I mean, you look at all these countries that are rubbing shoulders with one another, and some of them used to be great U.S. allies, and so it's going to be very difficult. This train is already headed out of the station, and it's going to be very difficult to stop. And the U.S., would they ever go to a gold-backed currency? I doubt it. But they need to come up with a game plan to try and prevent this from happening. So I think they're going to use it as a segue, Brannon, to, again, replace the U.S. dollar and go to a digital currency. I think they're going to use some type of black swan event to do that. So, we'll see what happens. But you need to be prepared for when it does happen, because when it happens, I don't think there's really going to be any warning. They're going to, again, come in and try and make it seem like we're here to help. And this is going to be a great thing. We're going to save the taxpayers so much money. We don't have to print money. We don't have to make coinage. Everything's still going to work the same. But instead of the bank taking dollars from your account to pay an individual or a retailer, they're going to take these digital credits. And as we've talked about several times, all privacy is gone at that point. You have zero privacy. They're going to know everything about you.
Let me interrupt real quick. If you want that free packet of information from Swiss America and Wes Peters, just text him. You don't even have to call him. Just text him your name and address, and he'll send you that free, no obligation packet of information on precious metals, whether you want to acquire bullion, silver eagles, gold eagles, whether you want to acquire numismatic, 1933 and older, that provides privacy. By law, you get those. No one knows you have them. They don't report that to the government. So you have some privacy. You're taking some of your assets off the bull's eye, if you will. You could also put gold into your IRA, which, again, a lot of you watching and listening, I think, have a lot of your years and years and life's work savings into an IRA. If this thing starts to collapse, we have, again, played the video of the congressman, the Democrat congressman from Pennsylvania back in 2008, saying there was a digital run on all the banks. We shut everything down to stop it. If this thing starts to teeter and tip over and they shut everything down, you're just going to be sitting there watching your hard-earned savings go down, down, down. You're not going to be able to do anything, I don't think. Which again is why you should, I believe, and I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion, do your own due diligence. I think it starts with getting that free packet of information from Wes. But I think a lot of you should seriously consider moving a percentage of your IRA into gold, where it's literally in a vault in Delaware, registered, backed by Lloyd's of London, we're told, and you can at some point pay the tax on it and take custody of that actual physical gold. Do I have all that right, Wes?
Correct. Yes, Brannon. And one of the biggest reasons people are getting into gold and silver right now, you kind of touched on it, was for the privacy aspect. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, real estate, all of those investments, when you liquidate them, a 1099 is generated to the IRS. There's gold and silver you can buy that when you buy it, we don't need to know anything about you. All we need to know, if it's outside of an IRA and you're using savings, where do you want it shipped? Better yet, when you sell it, regardless of how much profit you're making, by law, we're not required to ask you a date of birth, a social security number. We're not required to generate a 1099 to anybody. We just ask, where do you want the check sent? Now, in full disclosure, I'm not trying to be misleading and say, if you invested $10,000 and when you sold it, it's worth 15, yes, you are liable for that $5,000 of growth. Just like if you had a yard sale this weekend and made over $600, you're supposed to report that on your taxes as well. But there's no 1099 generated on the purchase or the liquidation. And one of the things that I think that I'd like to touch on also, Brannon, with our company, that I think separates us from the competition, besides our 42-year track record, our history, you would have to look long and hard to find a company that's been doing this as long as Swiss America, number one. Number two, we completely educate our clients. Any company you talk to is going to talk to you about why you should own gold and silver. That's the most important thing, why. If the why doesn't make sense, then there's no need to get into how to go about doing it. So when you get on board with the why and say, yeah, this makes sense, I'd like to own some gold and silver, unfortunately, that's where a lot of companies want to become the expert and they want to tell the client what to buy. And they might say, oh, we have these 1 ounce gold South African Krugerrands, great coin, you should buy these. If any company starts talking to you about buying something and they don't explain the different options, be very leery. What they've probably done is they probably pulled up their inventory, took a look, saw what they have too much of currently, that their sales manager would probably give them an additional bonus or incentive to sell and get rid of. And that may not be the best product for you, because not all gold and silver is created equal. Some products have one value, it's just the gold and silver content. Some products have the gold and silver content and an intrinsic value. Some products generate a 1099 to the IRS. Some products do not. So what we do is we sit back and we explain all of the different products. Here's what you need to know. This isn't rocket science. It's a lot less complicated investing in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. But we explain those important things and give you the information you and your family need, so you can say, well, Wes, Michael, based on our situation, based on what we're concerned about, we think these products over here would be best, that have these options, these bells and whistles, what have you. When we say, okay, if that's what you're interested in, here's how much those cost. And we give you that information so you can make an informed decision that you feel is best for you and your family, and we help you design that portfolio. And the big thing is, in our 42-year history, there's never been a single time where one of our clients have called us needing to liquidate their gold and silver. We have never turned someone away and said, sorry, we don't need that right now, call us in a couple of months. And I've been here, 17 years now? I can't tell you, Brannon, over the years how many calls I've taken from people wanting to know if we would buy their gold and silver because A, the company they or their parents did business with 15 years ago is no longer in business, or B, they're told, oh, sorry, Brannon, we don't need any of that right now. We have plenty of it. Give us a call in a month or so and we'll see where we're at. If we need it, then we'll buy it. Here at Swiss America, we could have $1 million a year product sitting in our vault already starting to collect dust, and we would still buy it back from you at the full market value. So liquidation is very important. But again, I just encourage people, Brannon, the times that we're living in, everything that's going on, for anyone that has thought for a moment about, yeah, I should probably call those guys and get some information. Knowledge is power. Call and get some information, read through it, do your due diligence. We can inundate you with third-party articles about what people are saying about gold and silver and why you should own it, and make a list of questions. and we'll have a conversation. It's not a 2-hour conversation. You can learn a lot in 20 to 30 minutes.
Right.
We'll have a conversation so you can learn more and get those questions answered.
All right, we'll do that, folks. All right, 40 banks have disappeared in China in the last few days. 40. Look at this video, folks. It's going viral. Look at this. Getting some video footage in some parts of China. They're starting to smash the windows of some of the banks. So look at all those people standing outside wanting their money. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, oh yeah, China. Pay attention, people. And again, we could show you, in fact, let me just go to another article here. Here's one right here. This is The Economist. Why Chinese banks are now vanishing. The state is struggling to deal with troubled institutions. Here's another one. Where'd it go? There we go. China's banking turmoil. 40 banks vanish. Xi Jinping leads collapse. Jing. The Chinese banking sector is facing a serious crisis in just 1 week. 40 banks disappeared. I think that's the name of a bank, isn't it? Yeah, it's the collapse of a bank. The Bank of China has further deepened the sector's problems. Experts warn that the situation could have severe consequences for the global economy. Reports from China indicate the collapse of one of the banks. Well, we're now getting reports, as they say, 40. And if you go on to social media, you'll see a lot of video footage. Supposedly, here's another one where the folks are irate. July 10th, that's 2022, so we won't show that. That's no good. But I did see some video footage. Here we go. Again, whether this is accurate or not, supposedly this is some of the folks getting upset out there. So again, I cannot, verify some of this footage going around out there on social media, but right now this is brand new footage saying that this is in front of a bank. I saw another one where apparently the folks were smashing the windows of one of the banks. So yeah, here's a lady that's expert on China, and she's saying that's what they're doing, that they're smashing some of the windows. Oh. So there you go. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I can believe that. I mean, look at here at home, the U.S., Janet Yellen. I mean, she's made it clear that they're going to pick the winners and the losers, Brannon. And, all these banks with less than $250 billion in assets, none of those banks have to go through the stress test. And there are a lot of banks that have $225 billion. They stay under that $250 billion mark. They're not getting stress tested. And they've already picked the winners and the losers. The last bank failures we've had in the last 2 years, the people that banked at those institutions were supposed to take the loss, and they bailed them out because they were very concerned about a run on the banks.
Yeah. People
freaked out running the banks to take their money out. So they're between a rock and a hard place. But at the end of the day, I think our government would love nothing more than to have 5 or 6 banks, the big banks, all the small community and regional banks out of business, and then nationalizing the banking system. I could see that coming very realistic.
Look at this one. Citi sees record central bank demand pushing gold prices to $2,600 this year, $3,000 in 2025. So to all those who think, oh, we've missed out, again, it's not about making money, in my opinion. It's about preserving your purchasing power, not watching what you've worked for go down, down, down. I mean, go study history. The Weimar Republic, many countries in modern times have seen hyperinflation. So we're not immune to this. And you can see, folks, the dollar's being destroyed. Get that packet, 602-558-8585. All you do is text Wes your name and address. He'll send it on. You can do your due diligence. 602-558-8585. Hey, Wes, have a great weekend.
Hey, you too, Brannon.
That's the world.
It'll be like 115 here.
Yeah, stay cool, my friend. Worldview Financial Report. Thanks for watching. Take care.